Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. Our next guest was elected to the Hawaii State House as a 21-year-old Democrat. She was elected to Congress in 2012 as a Democrat and considered a rising star within the party. She spoke at the Democrat National Convention and was a leader in Congress on many issues as a Democrat. She was vice chair of the DNC in 2016 and a prominent supporter of Bernie Sanders. She ran for president herself as a Democrat in 2020. She was one of my favorite colleagues. Many members on both sides would tell you the same thing. We didn't vote alike, but she was honest and curious and fair. And I don't think she's changed from the day I met her. But one thing did change. She left the Democrat Party, or perhaps she would say the party left her. Joining us now is Tulsi Gabbard. Aloha, Tulsi. It is wonderful to see you again. Let's start with the why and the why now. Why did you leave the Democrat Party and why now?
Well, Trey, as you mentioned, 20 years ago when I joined the Democratic Party, I was running for the state house in Hawaii, very passionate about the environment. And I was drawn to the Democratic Party because of leaders like Martin Luther King, leaders like JFK, and a big tent party that was inclusive, that stood for civil liberties, individual freedom, limited government, and a government that was truly of, by, and for the people. Unfortunately, over time, we've come to a point where now today's Democratic Party is none of those things. It is now a party that is of, by, and for the elite, and it is a party that is in the control of fanatical ideologues who oppose freedom. They're actively trying to undermine our freedom of speech, trying to tell us what we have to think, what we have to say, what we're allowed to read and hear. And they are against freedom of religion. They are actively hostile towards people of faith and spirituality. The list goes on, but fundamentally it comes down to the fact that today's Democratic Party and the party that's in control in Washington is dangerously opposed to our God-given rights enshrined in our Constitution. And it's a party that I can no longer align with.
All right, Tulsi, you are a very measured, thoughtful, you are not prone to doing things kind of at the spur of the moment. So you had to have been, I do know that. I mean, you don't do anything without weighing and balancing and thinking about it. So I guess what people have been asking me in the past week since you announced was, kind of how long had you been thinking about it? Was it something specific? Was it something recent? Kind of the why now part.
Yeah, sure, Trey. You know, I've always been an independent-minded person. Increasingly over time, I would say over the last few years especially, there have been one example after another of both policies and actions, especially under this administration, that are undermining our constitutional rights and freedoms. And a Democratic Party that is pushing us. They have become a party of warmongers. You know, the Democratic Party used to be home to champions of peace, people who recognize that in order for us to be free and prosperous, we must achieve peace. Those voices are silent in today's Democratic Party. So it wasn't that there was one specific moment, but it was over time seeing completely how the things that today's Democratic Party is standing for, things that are going against the very values and foundations of our country.
All right, Tulsi, the U.S. is still primarily a two-party country. If you are not a Democrat, how would you describe yourself? And is there a party or a label that fits you? And there doesn't have to be, but if there is one, what would you say it was?
I'm not thinking about party affiliations, but I have always been an independent-minded person, and if you're asking me, I'm an independent.
Well, you've always been. I mean, like since I met you, you have been independent. So I was maybe among the least surprised people. All right, you have a new podcast, the Tulsi Gabbard Show. I have no idea how you came up with the name for that, but do you
creatively,
do you
obviously
see, well, no less creative than my own show title. Do you see yourself ever getting back into elective office, or are you content? I mean, you've got a huge platform. Look, I mean, Republicans like you more than they do me, and I keep telling them, look, the fact that she's not a Democrat does not mean she's one of you. It does not mean that. But what do you see in the next couple of years for yourself?
Well, Trey, you're asking if I'm content. I'm not content because life is short, and there are many, many challenges that we face here in this country. There are many challenges that we face in the world. The Tulsi Gabbard Show is an opportunity for me to have an unfiltered and unlimited platform to be able to talk about my views and perspectives on a lot of these issues, and to talk with others who are experts who have different perspectives as well, to better inform and engage and get us to a place where we together as Americans can move forward towards actually starting to solve some of these problems. Life is short. I'm going to continue to do everything I can to serve God and to serve others and to make a positive impact with the limited time I have. Whether that leads back into elected office in the future or not, to me, is kind of irrelevant. The question I ask myself every day is, how can I make that positive impact?
Amen. Well, you did in my life and the lives of many of your colleagues. You were one of our favorite colleague, and it has nothing to do with politics. So you keep being exactly Tulsi Gabbard, and you will be successful no matter what. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Likewise, Trey. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.